Exactly 20 minutes past 8 o'clock. Welcome to Live Real Talk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On this day, the 5th of January 2023, the first live Real Talk show, the year 2023. My name is Faisal Kassim, and this is a Live Real Talk. Thank you so much for making time for us. Thanks so much for being with us the whole of 2022. And we've started a new year, hoping to be with you throughout the year as well, inshallah. As the poster went viral and you already started to comment about it, the high cases, quote unquote, high cases of divorce rate in this country right now. Everybody shouts about it, of course, information in the media. The other day we saw numbers from the Qadhi's court in Mombasa. The other day we saw numbers from the Qadhi's court in Nairobi. Of course, we've seen research done by the Family Resource Center. We've seen a whole article published by the Star newspaper in 2020 on the matter that has mentioned divorce. Funny enough, in 2019, the Star published the divorce cases and said that then was the highest cases of divorces ever since. In 2020, another post by the Kulan Post again mentioned that the highest cases of divorce cases that has ever been recorded. Again, this year, we have seen a report, again mentions the highest cases of divorce rate. So the question is, are these divorce rates, are these divorce cases as high as been mentioned, against what exactly? But again, here in studio to decipher this and put this thing into perspective, I have two amazing gentlemen who are dealing with such people who are actively involved, either filing for divorce cases or seeking alternative dispute resolution away from the courts, and of course working hand in hand with the judiciary to try and save as many marriages as possible. I'm talking about the former Deputy Chief Qadhi, who is now currently a director at Sulu Consultancy, Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar. Often, sorry, Sheikh Dr. Rashid Ali Omar. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi
wa barakatuh.
I'm okay, thank you very
Did you know
much.
the Sheikh is the doctor already? Mashallah. Because your colleagues in the same profession. Yes. Musa Mwale, assalamu alaikum. How are you, Sheikh? Musa Mwale is the other brother. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening to talk about this great topic. But again, first things first, Sheikh. I want to ask you. So let's start with our senior in the studio. Sawa, Sheikh. No problem, inshallah. Your request is granted. Musa, of course, you have been dealing with such cases since you're volunteering at the Family Resource Center full-time. Now you're still volunteering, but again, doing as well private practice for as far as soul is concerned. And you're dealing with such cases hands-on. You're dealing with the judiciary. You're dealing with the Qadhi's court, to be precise, hands-on. Do you think the divorce cases is as high as being mentioned by all these reports that you're saying?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, viewers. The divorce rate is high, but not as high as it is being portrayed. Because on what measure are we saying, or comparison, are we saying it's high? Because if you look at the number of marriages taking place, there are very, very many marriages taking place. There are many marriage officers who are conducting marriages on a daily basis. There are mosques, imams and ustads conducting marriages all over the country daily. However, those marriages, many of them do not find their way into the Qadhi's court to be recorded. However, divorces have to go to the court. And that's why the court or the media would know,
so they're only getting
easily know. They're only getting the numbers of divorce, but they're not getting the numbers of marriages.
Just to challenge that, in 2019, in the report published by the Star newspaper, said that the Qadhi at that time in Lamu County, to be precise, had conducted 49 marriages, of which by the time they were doing that report and that research, 42 of them they had already divorced. Here they already recorded 42 divorce cases. Not necessarily from the 49, not necessarily from the same marriages, but at least 42 divorces against 49 marriages.
Yeah, that is true. But then those are marriages that took place within the Qadhi's court. They're not marriages that took place in mosques and at homes. So when you look at marriages that take place home and through marriage officers, there might have been 400 marriages against 42. divorce cases.
Okay.
So
your argument is that there are divorce cases, but not as it's being portrayed outside here.
Yes, it is a concern because as a person who loves to preserve family, I mean, one divorce is one too many. So 42 are quite a lot. But you cannot say they are too high as compared to marriages.
Number of marriages that are happening.
Yeah,
okay.
Can't say that.
Sheikh, I'd like to weigh in on, and of course I'm going to ask you the same question. You have been actively conducting both marriages and of course issuing certificates for divorce cases. So what is your take on the cases of divorce in this country? Do you think they are as high as being reported?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. When we are talking of numbers, quantitative research, they don't lie. They depend on empirical data. The empirical data, to get it, you have to follow a holistic method. The way I feel, the data which you are getting has not been researched on. And furthermore, the courts, Qadi's courts, are not actually getting, they get only few cases for marriages and a divorce at the same time. In Islam, it is not necessary that you have to go to Qadi's court and get married, just the way my friend said. There are many marriages even who don't go even, how do you think of the rural areas where there are no Qadis? The marriage takes place on daily basis. Are they recorded?
Not necessarily.
Now, the basis you are putting this data, I feel there is a bit of unprofessionalism in it. Why? Because marriage, when marriage is being taken, and we have such amount of marriage, if we would have known just 1 million marriage, Muslims who are married are 1 million. Then when divorce takes place, we say such amounts have, and then at that time the rate we can
Then you can compare.
Yes, we don't have that number for the Muslims who are there.
Again, I'm going to ask you, Sheikh, maybe you'll have the benefit of the knowledge that has preceded in the previous generation compared to us who are just got into the world and got into this space recently. If you're saying that the divorce cases are high now, basically there must be something that they're comparing to, and probably they are comparing it to the previous years, to the yesteryears. So maybe from your experience, and of course you have been serving in the judiciary for a very long time, right? So the cases, the divorce cases right now compared to, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago, how is it? How would you compare? How do you balance?
Let us take one example, one court's example. Let us talk of CLO. I perused the divorces and the marriages from when those courts started, which is 1995. 1995 to 2020. If you add together the aggregate, or if you look it into a single one, you see that you cannot actually judge because it is fluctuating. Fluctuation. You see that sometimes even it is very low at later years than the previous years. But furthermore, if this has to be done, let us say now, it is not among the Muslims, but what the data which is available and produced by the annual report by judiciary, if we say, which does not represent the Muslims. And even if data is collected from the Qadi's court and Mombasa, they cannot be even representative to the representation.
The whole Muslim community.
As an empirical research is to be done. So that means the judiciary just gets the report within its environment. But the outer environment of the Muslim community, there is nothing. Therefore, however, in regard to the universal and the world issue, it is true that not only Kenya, but the whole world, divorce is in increase. It is a fact that we are getting from sociologists, from courts, and from everything.
especially in 2020 when COVID hit and it was at its peak. We saw divorce cases increase in China, in the US, in the UK, in India, and many of those countries. And of course, Kenya was not left behind. But anyway, just moving and pointing, or rather coming in closer into the topic, some of the cases, as we have all kind of mentioned in this stage, in this show tonight, is that divorce cases are there, but not as high as being portrayed.
Yes.
If anything, for us to make that conclusion, we need to conduct a proper research to have data-based information,
Scientific
correct?
And
empirical data.
Yes.
For lack of a better word, right?
So
we need to have that research.
Without that,
yes, we cannot necessarily
we cannot say that it is at the back of our mind. The whole world, because of the life change and the cultural clash, which has actually come to do with modernization and technology and all these things, as the world continue, the cultural role, norms and values are changing. People are neglecting it. In such a way, there is that marital power is reduced. And by marital power, I mean the rules and the rights are being trampled on and disregarded, and this will be a cause for it.
You're already preempting my next movement.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Mjoma. Now, Sheikh Musa said, as a person who likes to preserve family and, of course, ensure that that family remains united, one divorce is way too many, right? And we all agree that there are divorce cases that are happening every now and then, right? So just trying to delve deeper into the topic and trying to find out then, what are some of these issues that may be causing divorce? As I was researching, I came across a report that was represented to Sheikh Afman, the Qadi at Melimani, and it mentions maintenance being the highest cause of divorce cases, coming at 30%. The research that was done and conducted in the year 2014 to 2019, 30%, 31% say maintenance is the problem. Of course, that comes to financial issues. Desertion coming in secondly at 23%. And then we had conjugal rights and intimacy coming in. We had family interference, which is the same level with drugs abuse in the country. Right? So, I don't know, Sheikh Rashid, from your experience and your practice, are those the cases that you found rather to be some of the reasons behind the divorce cases? Indeed,
and they are. And even violence, batterings, and a lot of things, they are almost, if we have to narrate what we used to find out, look at it, they are almost about 30 issues or 30 problems that are causing. However, the sociologist and anthropologist has summed up all these things to 5 elements. That is the station causing divorces are either emotional, number 1, number 2, legal, where they go to courts and they do present their grounds. And then we have economic, which is actually money matters and all other things. Then co-parentals, whereas they fight on the children, and the custody and a lot of things. Then we have psychic divorce. Psychic divorce is where you find yourself, you want to be self-esteemed so that you become isolated from all these marriages. All what we are talking about those 40, they belong to these 6 elements which are the basis for the divorce. And that has been universally accepted. So, whatsoever it is, there are problems, and there are many. And it is not only for the Muslims. It is all over. It cuts across. Most of them are universal. Universal, and all over the world will state these things. The only thing I found that there was put in the judiciary report, annual report, that there is unjustified polygamy.
Unjustified polygamy,
which they say that they said unjustified instead of saying lack of justice in polygamy. And furthermore, I don't like using the word polygamy.
Why?
Because polygamy has 2 forms, polyandry and polygyny.
Yes.
Polygyny is for men. Therefore, if we use this one, that means we have accepted women marrying, a woman marrying many men.
More than one
So
husband.
it is better, the right word to use is polygyny.
Polygyny, yes.
So polygamy will also take to some other things, lead to others. So this is a word which is actually bigger and vague in nature. So the polygyny situation it is there are a lot of injustice which takes place. Maybe one links to that is why the Quran is saying وَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلُوا بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ وَلَا تَمِيلُوا كُلَّ الْمَيْلِ. That mile, don't link to one on one side. Allah is telling us, and that is what is taking place, because Allah knows more about the people.
وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا
فَوَاحِدَةً. And that is, according to me, that is the principle. That is the principle. But if one is the principle, because you don't marry 4 women at the same time. So the original principle and the adala, it leads to one. But if you have the capacity, and all round you can, then marry, but do justice.
Do justice. Musa Mwale, Sheikh has, mentioned and of course spoke a lot of things, giving us speed facts into that. But again, from your experience, right, what are some of the reasons that are causing people until they go and file divorce case and actually end up divorcing, having broken families?
I think on the onset, we have to appreciate that quite a number of people are entering into the institution of marriage without understanding what they're getting into. So the issue of what is the essence of marriage? Why are we getting married? That's one. 2, there is inadequate preparation for couples, whether they're young people or people who are getting married for the second time or third time. There is no adequate preparation in form of premarital counseling to prepare them for the responsibilities and responsibilities in marriage. Then there is the whole question of us as Muslims understanding the whole role of our creation, because marriage is part of the ibadah.
Yeah.
So if you understand the whole essence of your creation, then you go to the second level of marriage. Marriage as an amana, marriage as a responsibility, marriage as within marriage as certain obligations and certain rights, of course. And then there is, of course, increased levels of awareness in our sisters, and therefore some of them are not taking quite a number of things lying down. They are trying to challenge, and that is getting to our brothers in terms of, oh no, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But this increased awareness is good, because then our sisters are standing up for their right. And also, people have now known that there is an avenue. Initially, maybe people used just to be told, oh, no, marriage is for good. You just stay there, even if you are not happy. You are not contented in any way. But now they realize that there's redress. And it's both men and women. Because we also have men who actually go to court. I think Sheikh Rashid will tell you, some men go to court to seeking divorce. Of course, it's much easier for a man to grant divorce.
Just write it to just speak about it.
But some men, because of lack of that awareness, they actually go to court. Or they go to court because of issues to do with parenting, issues to do with the property, issues to do with the rights. Because if you divorce just arbitrarily like that, then you start fighting over children, you start fighting over maintenance, you start fighting over some of the...
So you follow the due process.
So when you follow the due process, then both of you are protected. And more important is the amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you in marriage, which is the children. Then they get protected and they get their right. So I think the increase is also due to all those things. However, also the level of tolerance maybe has gone down. Just because what I mentioned earlier, we don't know the goal of marriage, and therefore we go into it to gain. So you go into it asking, what is in this for me? And I tell people,
not necessarily what are you putting into it.
What I tell people is, in a marriage is like you're going to a market. What are you carrying to the market so that you can sell? It's not what you're going to get out of the market. So when you sell or when you give, then you get back.
So basically the cornerstone for you is the fact that people do not prepare well enough to enter into the institution of marriage.
Yes.
And how do you prepare? Information,
premarital counseling, And also the breakdown of the family structures, you know, the way we used to live at home, and there was a lot of interventions, are not there. We are living in urban areas. We've moved to several other places where we do not have family around. And so the structures are not there.
So it has been more individualistic.
Individualistic, yes.
The way it was rather communal.
Yes. And now people are also not appreciating that there are other structures, the modern structures like counseling, marital therapy, and all
and
that.
Social media.
You know, so people are resorting to, of course, social media.
Social media,
and they go to
Google.
divorce court in the West, the YouTube,
yes.
and watch the divorce court,
yes.
and they say, oh, so you can also get divorced because
of this
your pet was not brought enough food. You know.
Interesting, and I like you to leave it at that because we want to pay our bills. Hajit natafuta mshahara kidogo. Sasa tusize advertisement. So we are about to pay our bills right now. The next few minutes, please do not touch that dial, because now we're going to decipher further what are some of those issues. So what happens in the premarital counseling? Haji mentioned about some of the reasons, including intimacy, financial, economical. What exactly in the economy does propel the whole agenda of divorce? Do you want to find out? I am so eager to find out, right? So keep it there. Don't you go away. Going to be back in a moment.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
The best gift you can give to your kids is education. Baitul Hikmah Integrated Group of Schools is a faith-based international school that offers an Islamic integrated British curriculum. We provide quality education to our students while instilling Islamic morals, values and practices. Our curriculum includes Cambridge IGSE, digital learning, modern languages and Islamic integrated studies steered by qualified and experienced TSC registered tutors. We offer a secure and serene learning environment that promotes development of knowledge, skills, understanding, confidence and creativity to our students. To strike a balance, we have an ample playground for the children and strong extracurricular activities. The school has a mosque and madrasa for the students as spiritual upliftment. We're located at 6 Parklands Avenue off City Park Drive, opposite Regal Plaza on Tazza Lane. 2023 admissions are ongoing. Apply now. For more information, contact us on 0732 854 647, info@baitulhikmah.sc.ke or www.baitulhikmah.sc.ke. Baitul Hikmah, a home of wisdom.
Tauhid Muslim High School ni shule sekondari ya wavulana na wasichana iliyoko Malindi yenye day na boarding na ina usafiri kwa wanafunzi wa day. Pia ina integration, yani masomo madrasa kama vile Quran, hadith, fiqh, sirra, tauhid na lugha yanafundishwa. Tauhid Muslim High School inachukua wanafunzi wa Kiislamu na wasiokuwa Waislamu. Pia watoto wanaswali swala 5 kwa jamaa na chakula ni kama cha nyumbani. Kwa sasa inawatangazia nafasi za kidato cha kwanza hadi cha 3. Kwa maelezo zaidi piga simu kwa nambari 0702483777 au 0738483777. Tauhid Muslim High School, kwa elimu bora.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thank you so much for keeping it live real talk right here tonight. Sorry man, icha ya abandon na nifanya ulimi na teleza. But anyway guys, I still appreciate the fact that you have kept it here on live real talk, and thank you so much. Still, I'm with these two great gentlemen in the studio tonight. That is Sheikh Dr. Rashid Ali Omar and brother Mr. Musa Mwale. Talk about the divorce cases, and we're just talking about some of the contributing factors, some of the things that are propelling the whole divorce agenda. And Sheikh Musa, you mentioned about the premarital counseling, which I feel it is one key thing that people undermine nowadays, even before going to marriage. It's like going for a battle without preparing, or going for a war without ammunition. Right? So what happens in the premarital counseling?
Yeah, I actually tell people that one, when you want to learn to, when you want to ride a bike, you go to learn. You know, we go to driving school to learn about driving and all that. For things that are not permanent, we go to school for so many years to learn about our careers, where in the midway of our careers we abandon. You find a doctor who is now a farmer, a businessman. You find a lawyer who has now butcheries and all that. However, when it comes to marriage, we don't prepare. Yet, this is a 40, 60 year plus institution. It's a contract that you're going to be there for quite a number of years. If you ask our elders, alhamdulillah, they have been there. So it's good to take time to prepare. And that time is during premarital counseling. In the past, the way our society was structured, we had our grandfathers, we had our uncles and aunties doing that informally. Now we don't have that. So we have formal institutions where you can go for premarital counseling, have a number of sessions, maybe 4 or 5 sessions, which totals to maybe about 15 to 20 hours of talk about what you are getting into. That prepares you. It doesn't make you change your mind in terms of marriage, but it prepares you psychologically, mentally, and physically to confront the huge responsibility of marriage, to appreciate that there are going to be ups and downs. And when it's up, this is how I will conduct myself. When it's down, this is how I will confront the situation.
Briefly and very quickly, tell us, how do you go about it? Like, what are some of the things you do there? Do you ask people questions? Do you lecture them? Do you teach them? Do you give them, do you do them through courses? What exactly do you do there?
Premarital counseling is basically talk therapy. And therefore, premarital counseling is not like the other counseling where the client comes up with their own decisions. Premarital counseling is just a talk, is an exchange, is a learning process where the counselor prompts the counselees to actually appreciate certain aspects. Like, what do you expect in this marriage? What are the issues? What have you heard about other marriages? If you are the one, how would you confront? Have you ever thought of, for example, your partner losing a job, an income? Have you ever thought of all of a sudden relocating to another place if things are not working here? What if you are not blessed with children? You know, what if one of you gets incapacitated somehow? How are you going to deal with it? So that prepares people. What if, for example, the other partner takes in a second partner, like a man takes in another wife? How do you confront that kind of situation? What if you have a sick parent who has to now come and live with you?
How do you deal with
relatives.
that?
How do you deal with that?
So basically, those are those are some of the things
those
you
are
deal with.
what the finances, the children, the values you want to espouse in your children. Yes, we are Muslims, and we expect that Islam is going to be a way of life. But there are certain people who would want certain strict or conservative way of practicing their deen. There are certain people who will want this other way. So what values are you going to come up with? What kind of schools do you want to take your kids to?
Beautiful.
Do you want to take your kids to secular schools?
Or international
schools? Or Islamic-based schools, integrated schools? Because you have to agree. You have to think about these things. Because when people don't do that, when they get into marriage, your wife expects this, south, and you expect north. And there's conflict.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Sheikh, I know you want to weigh in on that, but again, I just wanted you to touch majorly on matters economy, right? Because in the report that I mentioned, it came as the most contributing factor in terms of maintenance, right? And we've also mentioned it, we've also spoken to it. So how does economy and maintenance play a role, rather contribute to the whole divorce agenda?
I don't know whether you allow me also to touch on the issue of counseling.
Yeah.
Counseling is just there's a life cycle of the marriage, starting from love, courtship, and then it goes to the marriage bond, childbirth, child rearing, and all these things. And in this situation, in this life cycle is where problems arises. So counseling actually preempts those things for the people who want to heal, because the counselors are professionals with experience and accumulated knowledge on the matter. So it is very important to do that. For the matter, it is very important for people during the marriage, they should go for classes on these matters if they want to sustain their marriage in a healthy way. And that is all what I want to say. For these money matters, the world economy is one of the social foundations. The 5 social foundations, one of it is economy. And it is inevitable that people should come and scramble on it. On general people even, when you see that when businesses comes and all these things, conflict and something arises. Familial matters, when the husband does not provide the way required according to his capability. When the finances, he hides from the wife. He's not open what he's getting whatsoever. Then you see that the need, the necessity of the family, compared to what you receive, or compared to what the man gets, is not equated to each other. Then obviously we have sometimes even the dowry is not being paid. In a situation where the dowry, I can remember 2000 in Nyeri, a lady was married when I was standard 1 with 700 shillings. Then 2000 the divorce takes place.
Whoa.
The man says, this is the 2000. I mean, this is the 700
shillings.
Yes, and then she says, during that time, I could have built 3 rooms, concrete rooms.
Is that 700?
Today, what am I going to do with it? That is the value, since he doesn't know Meher's value. So you see, in such a situation, they disagree on that one until we resolve this matter. The other thing, the sufficiency, the sufficient economic power is very important. Sometimes even they think of the housing system. There was a case which we were actually mediating the other time. Somebody says, I can't do this. I can't, the work I'm doing, I can't go into a house of about 80,000 or 70,000. I can only offer 20,000. Now, in such a situation, the people comes in and they says, okay, we are going to supplement. He says, no, I don't want to be supplemented. We have to stay here. You see that you are being assisted. Why are you refusing? That brings a conflict. Now this man, he does not want, he want to live in that life. When my family who are outside are telling me that we will supplement, then he is refusing. He doesn't want to increase. We live in a better houses.
Misogyny, that's what they call it sometimes.
Yes, that is it. So all these things are money matters.
Yes.
The other thing also, you don't want your wife to economically empowered. Many people don't want it. They think negatively that the other way, if she gets empowered, there are many Muslims who think that you will be independent, which is wrong, because she is your support. She is your support and support to your children, and maybe you will have even go very far. But others, and we had many of them saying that, that these are the things. So money matters are very important, because we can't live now today. We are not talking of camels and cows and all these things, where even they used to own there during that time. But we are talking of now towns, life in towns. She can't come for you when she wants to buy an abaya, or when she wants, every day he begs you. That is not the problem. And then you refuse it. What happens now? Conflict takes place.
True.
You have and also property, which are time now, these days.
In whose name are you registering it?
Yeah, the properties should be registered. Or maybe if you have houses there where you are taking, where you are earning rents, I have also to get part of it and these things beside what you are giving me.
What if as a couple you decide, you know what, let's register a trust, and then all our properties and our assets, we register them under this trust?
That is okay, but now there is that fear also. Conflict will come, and then later on divorce comes and you drag to each other. It's
a trust at the end of the day, so the kids will be the beneficiaries, for example. How about that?
They don't want to do that, because they might even, you know, in courts, it has many ages, so you don't know what is going to happen in it. And there is fear factor within the family. If there is no trust between them.
We have 4 minutes, Haji, that I want us to talk about the separation policy, right? Something that you mentioned when we were during the break. Separation policy, how does that work?
Before separation policy, I would like to mention one issue. That issue is about mediation. We have mediators, many Muslim mediators. He's a mediator. We have mediation. The courts, the other courts, are sending us a lot of, even most of them not Muslims. They are sending us for we to mediate it. Up to now, I don't know whether Sheikh has it. I did not get any case from where a mark is being sent to from the Qadi's court. That mediation is very important before the court. They register. After that one, they mandatory. We have about now 8 cases.
It's about, it's part of ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution.
Yeah, right? Mediation, it is ADR. And that has worked very well. A case I can remember of 1985, which is succession, who are not Muslims. I'm handling that it worked very nice for families. And they are not Muslims. Why not sending these cases, especially the divorce cases, for mediation? And it is very important. And then, your question. Separation. You know, in Islam, when it is being filed, we have divorce by the court, which is fasq, and then divorce by the husband, and then we have divorce by the woman, which is khul. Now, before you reach to that extent, it is very important that when the issues come before the marriage, because idda is before marriage, idda is after marriage, but now before that, to mitigate this situation, and because you don't have to break the family, which is the bedrock of the society, which is we have to have policies. Policy of separation means the turmoil and the tension which is within the family, you have to give a duration that it should calm down. We have found out in such a situation and tried sometimes where even they want to fight you, why are you delaying this thing? But sometimes when it goes to a certain level, you hear that some of them are telling you, some of them will tell you are bribed. Some of them will tell you, why are you dragging this thing? I want right now this thing to end. But when you do it, they say, this Qadi has had it. They want to go back to each other. And then they tell you also, this is not the situation. For that to be effective, we must have a common policy for the Qadi's court, which is taken to the judiciary before the divorce, because the separation and idda is not the same. Separation is these problems, marital problems which are taking place, can be handled in one way or the other and diffused. And that people should be made to understand that we should have creating an atmosphere where we can conduct effective and the creative preventive measures. That is done now when I'm talking of separation. One of these preventive measures, which actually the people should be told, is that we should have a body that will try to hatch the best effective ways that will advise the people, because, and the people must be taught the conviction that divorce is not inevitable. If you get a help, it can make that marriage to sustain.
Okay.
So, separation, the Qadis court, the Qadis who are hearing me, and the Qadis who are actually, they have to know that separation for some time, unless they separate, whereas now they look the cases into the way they are, most of them may require, when the heat is very high, when the hatred is that communication is not within the people, so that communications can be conducted by, like my brother Musa, Sheikh Abdul Latif, or with the counselors and the mediators. So they should give a break instead of now starting the process, the grounds.
Expediting it very fast.
Yes.
Okay. Sheikh Musa, do you have like a policy? I don't know, I'm just thinking, for example, at workplace you have finance policy, we have HR policy, we have, for example, marketing policy, security policy, and all that, right? So is there something like a document or a guideline you share with couple when they're getting to marriage in terms of what would or rather guide their separation as a policy?
We do not have that, but what we have done as counselors, we've developed materials where, for example, when couples want to get married, when you take them through premarital counseling, you share with them Islamically developed materials in terms of marriage, the rights and responsibilities, the do's and don'ts and all that, so that they're equipped not just with the skills and knowledge that you share during the sessions, but they also carry home something. And quite a number of Muslims have written quite extensively on that. So we get those materials and share with them. Just to weigh in on what Sheikh has said in terms of separation, within the secular world or the Christian world or the secular court, the common law, you do not go to court and file divorce until you've been separated for like 2 years. So that has to be proved. Of course, in Islam is not there. However, the mechanism that Sheikh is alluding to, which I know in the past has worked, is if these people are sent back for counseling and maybe given a mandatory period of 3 months, go and come back after 3 months, but come back with a report that you've seen a marital counselor, you know, and you've gone through mediation. Once you come back with those reports, then we will listen to you. That, as Sheikh says, gives them space. I remember one case, and I don't know whether it was, I think it was your time, when I was at Family Resource Center. We were brought one case where the parents had completely failed to mediate. They actually gave the young man and the girl, the lady, the brother, to take them to the Qadi for divorce. And the Qadi referred them to us. And believe me, within 2 sessions, which was within 3 days, the couple left laughing. And they're like, we will never talk about divorce again. Because we understood where they were coming from. They were young couples. The girl was about 21 and the young man was about 24, 26, you know, married just recently. So those early stages, because they did not go through the process of that. So I think that can work as a matter of separation. But also there is really need for us to have a mechanism of even having safe houses. Because you get sisters who've been battered and they have nowhere to run to. They cannot go home. Maybe they come from very far. Maybe they come from their rivers. And they have nowhere else to go. You cannot keep them because it's against the law. It's someone's wife. So we need to appreciate that if we have some of these safe houses where they can be housed for a couple of days as solution is sought. Because as Sheikh says, when the tempers are very high and you tell this lady, go back to your husband, with a letter summoning them to come for mediation, or to come to Jamia Mosque to see Sheikh Jumamir or so, the lady will be beaten. So what do we do? So those are some of the things as a community we need to start looking into them, and we need to create space where couples can have a sober mind to reflect on. Many of them, as Sheikh says, in here with the late Sheikh Swalihu, we've had cases where an old lady comes and demands for khul, and she's, very angry. I want it now. But after 4 months, she comes back, Sheikh, mimi samea bwana yangu, nataka yeye kurudi. It's like, okay, but you are the one who came here. And that's just one case that we handled with the Sheikh. And there are so many other cases.
So one thing I'm getting here from the show is that, one, we appreciate the fact that the research or researches that have been done about divorce cases still have certain loopholes, right? And we still need to do a more enhanced research about the divorce cases, correct? And divorce cases are there, right? And it can be avoided if we make good use of the mediators and the counselors in our midst. We do the premarital counseling, right? And when we have issues, we go back to them, right? One last question. I'm going to start with you, Musa, and then we'll come to Sheikh. If a couple is married, a young couple is married, right? And they did, let's say, for example, the premarital counseling. At what time of their marriage do they come, or rather, do they visit a counselor again, just to touch base and look at how their marriage is? After how many months? Very quickly, because
we can't have a specific.
We are flying
period.
over time now.
Yeah, we can't have a specific period. But as issues come up where they feel they don't have the capacity to deal with them, they should immediately refer to the counselor. Because in premarital counseling, you sort of like you're signing a contract, because you are saying this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I can compromise on, this is what I can't. So you will keep on reminding each other. But you said this when we were there. Why are you all of a sudden changing? So when certain things start coming up, it's even if it's just 1 month or 3 months or a year, it's good for them to go back to the counselor. We think we have an issue. We want you to help us sort it out. Very mutually, very respectively, very lovingly. And that will be sorted without, having to go into the heat and then you
and escalate the whole matter.
Yes.
Blow it out of proportion, so to speak. Haji, yes, maybe you...
The premarital counseling is before marriage. But counseling can continue whenever it arises. I have talked about the marital circle stage until they come the later time. There are about 6 stages of marital life. If it comes about, they can go for it, because it is them who knows the problem. But we cannot say that actually it should be, because the marriage was initially meant to tell them how the marriage institution works. And these marriage institutions have rules and regulations, have rights and the rule and do's and don't do. This is what they do about it. So if they happen to fall into it, then it is their right to come back so that they salvage the marriage. For mediation, there is Muslim mediation. We have developed the other time we were training people here, that manual. The way we will meet them and add the counseling and the mediation process, so that we can even come up with Islamic form of mediation and the counseling system. It is based on the Quran and the Hadith. So mediation is very important. The Qadis should return to it. The only thing is the policy when they are taking separation. It is unfortunate that this country has even no family policy up to now. This country. How do you think of the Muslims now?
It's an opportunity for the Muslims to come up with one, and then maybe the country can borrow from that.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Thanks so much. As I said, we are flying over time, and I know my producer is just about to strangle me right now. Thank you so much, Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar. Thank you so much, Brother Musa Mwale.
Welcome.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to give you time to give your parting shots once again.
Thank you
so much for your contributions, and thanks so much for making time for us this evening. And for you all viewers, thank you so much for keeping us company. I hope you have benefited, man. I mean, it's crazy the amount of knowledge that has just been shared right here tonight. It's amazing. I think I need a whole week to process it. And by the time I'm done, then we'll be meeting for our next show, which is next week on Thursday, same place, same time. My name is Faisal Kassim, and thank you so much for keeping it live on Talk Tonight. See you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أستغفر الله أستغفر الله
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque Nairobi.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.